Hello everyone, welcome to another review. Today we're reviewing two phones. These are two of the best phones that you can consider to get from Samsung. We have the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE 5G and we have the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, which is the flagship of flagships for Samsung. Now these two phones, as you can see, they have something in common. They're both large phones and they're both phones with a lot of things thrown at them and a lot of features in them, and in many ways you might even look at them and say maybe they look similar, but there is a vast difference between these two phones. But the question is whether you would need that vast difference, which phone will be better suited for you. So I'm not going to go into all the big details, all the big specs and everything like that. This review will be a simple review. I'm just going to go into the various features, what you can expect with each phone, and I'm also going to go in a camera and video comparison so you get a chance to see how these phones operate overall, and you'll be able to make a decision as to which phone is better suited for you. Alright, so with that, without further ado, I'm just going to get right into this video. Alright, so the FE has a 6.5 inch AMOLED or Super AMOLED display, which is 1080p by 2400 pixels, whilst the Note has a 6.9 inch AMOLED display, which is 1440 by 3088 pixels, and it's called a dynamic AMOLED display, which means it's supposed to be brighter, it's supposed to be faster, it's supposed to be better and crisper overall. The FE has 6 GB of RAM with 128 GB of storage, whilst the Note has 8 GB of RAM with 256 GB of storage. They both are sporting 4500 mAh batteries, but the FE, of course, because the screen and demands are lighter, it would last longer. They both have stereo speakers. They both have front-facing fingerprint sensor, one being ultrasonic fingerprint sensor and one being a regular photo fingerprint sensor. They both have fast, but I think this gives less problems because it allows you to use a screen protector and does better protect the phone. Right, so they both work fast in this instance. Now this front-facing screen is a Gorilla Glass 7, whilst this is a Gorilla Glass 3. Well, although I say 7, it is really called Victus, but it's really 7. Alright, now with this is Gorilla Glass 7 in the front and also at the back. Now the back of this is plastic. It has an aluminum build, whilst this has a stainless steel build, which means that this is the highest level of premium that Samsung could put into a phone to get this level of build. Alright, so that's just something you need to take into account when you go looking at these phones. Now they both have stereo speakers, they both boast 3 cameras at the back, but you notice that there is a laser autofocus on the Note 20 Ultra and it definitely needs that. Of course, they have the same dual LED flash, and they have 3 different types of cameras. They both have wide, main and telephoto, but of course the Samsung has a better, the Note has a better telephoto than the S20 FE. We'll get more into that later on, but overall what you know that this is more or less a 5x zoom and this is a 3x optical zoom. Something to take into account when you're going to consider between these two. Now they're both IP68 water and dust resistant. They both have wireless charging and reverse wireless charging. They both have fast charge. They both have vivid mode, and they both have 120 Hz refresh rate. Now something to note in relation to the FE is that you see the fingerprint problems. Okay, so if you go into settings and you go into display and you open up motion and smoothness, you'll notice that this is on high and this is on adaptive. Alright, now the reason why, let's going to put that back on. Good. Now the reason why this is on adaptive is because this varies, or rather the Note varies the refresh rate depends on what you're using it, whilst the S20 FE has the refresh rate on at all times. So if you really get the smoother animation scrolling with the 120 Hz screen refresh rate, whereas it says get smoother animation and scrolling by automatically adjusting your screen refresh rate up to 120 Hz. Now this is supposed to be for battery management because this is a brighter screen, it's a more vibrant screen, and that's why it will drain battery much faster than the smaller and less vibrant screen of the S20 FE. Alright, so this is something to note as well. Now they both have 12 megapixel ultra wide and 12 megapixel zoom cameras, but only similar camera spec that they have is that they both have a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. However, the FE has a 8 megapixel telephoto camera, whilst the Note20 has a 12 megapixel telephoto camera, which has a spherical zoom, and as I said before, is 5 times zoom. The main camera for the FE is 12 megapixel 1.8, whilst the main camera for the Note is 108 megapixel 1.8 with a laser autofocus sensor as well. So overall, the FE has reasonable specs, whilst the S20 has been spec'd out. So I'll give you an opportunity basically to see how they are, but what I can tell you is that in both cases the back cameras work pretty well. They do extremely well in daylight conditions, and they do also do very well in low light conditions. And these are both cameras I can definitely recommend. Now in relation to the front facing camera, the FE actually has a 30 megapixel front facing camera, whilst the Note has a 10 megapixel front facing camera. Now I'll be interested to see how they compare, and I'll give you a chance to look at them and see overall how they compare, how they look.
How much?
Now let's go and do a just general overall test, not just to see how this Snapdragon works against the Qualcomm, but to see how these phones overall, based on the current composition, works together. Alright, so let's do a general test. Okay, let's start a fingerprint sensor. Let's see if we can put them. Okay, so let's see if we can put them at the same level if possible. Okay, good. And you can be able to judge from it. Now I'm just going to clear all apps. Clear all. Clear all. Just to show you that you're on the same grounds. And let's start with the Play Store. Okay. I think the FE did better there. Okay, well, in this instance, the Note 1. And let's go quickly to some gaming apps just to get an idea of heavier processing, how it works. And that was pretty close. So let's go with Temple Run. So the Snapdragon was a bit fast today. just go both at their loudest. Okay, so let's turn this back up. Alright, so you get a chance to basically see the different colors, and then you turn this down. So you're hearing alright, so we're seeing got a lot of issues of fast touching it. Okay. Alright, so let's go back to the YouTube app and hear how they sound audio wise.
We have the Bixby button and the volume rocker button. Of course, we have the microphone up here, another mic at the bottom, and might be a mic through here, but of course, as you can see, it's speaker grill here, which means it's close to the bottom and the top, so you can hear the sound. Should be pretty good as well. Stereo speakers, which means it's close to the bottom and the top, so you can hear the sound. Should be pretty. So that's just the phone. Looking at it here, let me actually take this off.
Now the FE seems to be louder, but the sound from the Samsung Note seems to be better. So this is quite interesting overall, at least for me, but you can let me know what you think based on what you're hearing for yourself. So these are some of the things you can take into account when you're looking at these phones. I don't think there's much difference between the two of them. They're pretty good in many ways, and I think a good buy would be best for either one of them. Now, of course, if you're going to consider the two, the obvious option is the S Pen. Now, this makes this phone way more useful, and I definitely think it's pretty good overall. So for many, the S Pen is a very useful feature, which obviously doesn't work on this. So it only works on this, and it's very useful. It's very, very, very useful. So I don't know, I think it's something you might want to consider as well. Once you figure out how to use it overall, so that's the only thing. So that's something to definitely consider in relation to this. Okay, good. Alright, so you see you can literally control the camera, you can take your pictures, scroll different options. Like, I mean, it's pretty good, pretty good. So all of this, I mean, this carries us a different level, and definitely something you could consider if you want to between these two phones overall. Now let's have a look at the cameras. When you take a look at the cameras and take a look at the photos, I want you to just give me share your views on which you think took better photos overall. But I generally think that these two will take good photos. Alright, now that we're back on my final thoughts, here's what I would say. The S20 FE and the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra are both really good phones. They're both really good phones for the price that they have. But I think for most persons, the FE is more than good enough. The S20, or rather the Note 20 Ultra, is for those persons who want to have everything that Samsung can throw at the phone, but the FE is probably better suited for most persons for various reasons, and one of them being price. It is less expensive, of course. Overall, it's pretty good. The battery lasts longer, I can say that for sure, because it's less demands on it. Overall, it is better to handle because of its size. You can actually use it one hand to some extent. Because the Note is so broad and so long, it's very hard to use it one-handed. You really got to juggle and swing the phone. So that is some of the things you want to take into account. But outside of those things, I think the Note has some advantages. It has better modes, it has better options. Even if you go through the display, you'll find different, I'll go through the settings, you'll find more options for the Note. Also, it has better accessories for it, better cases, better screen protectors if you can actually be able to use it. But overall, what I would say is this: the FE is the no fuss phone, the simple phone that allows you to do whatever you want to do. less high maintenance, whilst the Note 20 Ultra is the high maintenance two-handed sword that you can use to deal everything you gotta deal with. So you gotta decide which phone is better suited for you, and I think either way you're going to be making a good option between the two of them. So this is Asa here. Usual thing, if you have any opinions, questions, please leave a comment. If you like what you see, then please press like. If you want to see more videos like this, more comparisons like this, then please subscribe. This is Asa here, and I'll see you again in another video.